107. And 1,200 metres to climb today. We'll be eyeing positions in the sprint for the four riders tied on time for the yellow jersey. With a two-position aggregate difference over Evenepoel so far. That's why he leads the Tour de France today. First time he's had the yellow jersey since July 2022. I think we're going to go to radio.
Le vent qui était quasi nul se lève un peu et Didier me confirme qu'on est plus près des 20 km/h de vent, dans une dizaine de kilomètres qu'actuellement. Donc bien sûr il est interdit de dormir derrière, ça c'est impératif les gars par rapport à l'objectif que l'on a. Et je pense que d'être dans la première moitié de peloton, ça coûte pas beaucoup d'énergie et c'est plus sécure.
Sean was laughing there. C'est interdit de dormir. You must have heard that a few times from a sports director.
Yes, many times, and of course in my day we didn't have the radios, but you know, sometimes on a stage where you would be sitting very much to the rear of the car, team car would actually be able to get up to you because you know they would ask permission from the commissars and really come even ahead of the race director's car. That was allowed back in the time on occasions, and often I heard that dormir pas trop, don't sleep too much there, meaning at the back of the peloton, and yeah, that's what we're hearing from some of the teams there, and you know, just trying to keep them a little bit alert. And as well, you know, when you get in here in the peloton riding along like this, you get talking to riders and you relax a bit too much, and that's where you can have, you know, problems where you can touch a wheel so easy and you just, you know, leave yourself slip back all the way to the very back of the peloton, the final 15 or 20 riders. And we've heard from many of the teams now that that's not what they want. They want to more so in the top 30, 50 places in case. And yeah, you say to them a little bit of vent, a bit of wind coming up, as you can see here, 10 kilometers an hour. They were saying they are okay at 20 kilometers an hour. And when riders see that, well, they say, okay, yeah, maybe it's going to be dangerous. So you just, you know, wake them up a little bit.
Headwind for the moment, but Robbie McEwen's eyes have just lit up.
I just watched the message that you sent through of what the weather's like at your place.
Thankfully, it's nothing near like that.
Nothing near like this, but the riders are definitely riding towards those storm cells as they approach the mountain range, which looms just behind Turin today. That's the danger, that you get on the edge of...
3 and 2 and... But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her
of
card,
the mountains and that weather that's hanging around there can sort of make its way off the mountains down onto the flats, and Turin is right there at the base. And you know, if they're lucky, they'll dodge the storms. If they're unlucky, they'll be saturated.
Let's go to Yenzi.
It is. As we pass the peloton to gain a bit of time, you can see actually how long the peloton is. That we still ride a little bit, even though there's no breakaway, but all the riders know eventually we need to get to the hotel before dark, or at least go to the finish line before the sun goes down. We're looking at a 7.5-hour day today. Even though the peloton's going slow, it's fairly long, as you can see behind me, and we're in the Grenadiers with some of their teammates on the road, in the middle of the road, giving out fresh bottles. So, hydration again is the key point. Back to the commentators.
Keep eating, keep drinking. Focus on the latter, certainly with hydration, a big factor.
I like how we say they're just dawdling along, they're riding really slow. The current average speed is 39 kilometres an hour. Just for those at home, particularly the ride. Riders who will know what their own average speeds are on their local laps. If they were to come home with an average speed of 39, it'd be straight inside to tell the family.
Be wondering if I could turn pro with that. Thankfully, no danger of that.
Robbie never goes under 39. We remember the times we went out from Rob. It was just always full on gas, and to get rid of Robbie because he's just riding too hard. We need to enjoy a ride when we get out.
It's because Sean was on that long bike of his and he had a half wheel in front of me. I was just trying to keep up.
I can tell you that Mr. McEwen still likes to go through gaps that don't exist. Mind you, producer Doug suggests that Sean doesn't suit up for less than 39 kilometres per hour.
I had a message on my Strava the other week when I did, I think it was 58 kilometres or something. I had a message pretty quickly. Wouldn't have kitted up for that.
It's still stuck, has it?
Yeah. It's from some bloke called Dan.
He's watching, I know that.
El Tractor.
Yes. Nice to see him back on the front, isn't it?
He knows no other way.
But he's no one to chase yet, though. It must be a strange situation for him.
Yeah, but I mean, I can imagine the word has already gone around. You know, if we're just going to really absolutely cruise, the day is just going to get too long. Let's just get there. And Tim de Klerk really doesn't mind doing this. He'd much prefer to ride a tempo than just roll the pedals around and feel like he's never getting there. So the whole peloton will actually be appreciating this.
This year, of course, we know that the Tractor is the Trektor, riding for Lidl Trek. Mars Pearson is his sprinter. Another opportunity for him, exchanging turns with Sylvain Dillier.
He's also
just in conversation. Sorry, Robbie.
He's also done plenty of this work over the last few years, Sylvain Dillier, and for great reward too. Jasper Philipsen rounding things off last year, the absolute dominant sprinter in the Tour. As we see Montebello della Battaglia.
Our last few kilometres before we leave Lombardy and start to head towards the province of Alessandria. That means we're into Piedmont.
Means we're into sprint territory.
It certainly does. It certainly does. We've got one fourth category climb to get up and over before we go there. And of course we're paying homage to the late great Fausto Coppi. Coppi, of course, one of the great Italian names. One of the great names in Tour de France history as well. We saw, didn't we, yesterday, that wonderful tribute to the 7 winners and 10 victories of the Tour de France for riders from Italy. No danger of these two joining them overall, Dully and Coquard. But of course both should be favourites for stages. And, well, Coquard's been around a long time, hasn't he, as he chats to the Toro. The bull.
They're talking about the football, which is taking place on Monday night in the European Championship.
France-Belgium tonight.
Versus France. So Brian Coquard and Arnaud Dely in discussion about what the score's going to be. Arnaud Dely, he's a real personality. He's not only got just buckets of watts to throw down on the bike, he's got plenty to say as well. He's a real character, the young Belgian, the Tahoe de l'Echeré, the bull of l'Echeré, where he's from, and his family are cow farmers.
And the Belgian blue.
Yeah, the Belgian wit blow, those big bodybuilder looking cows.
Sean bringing the farming knowledge. It's funny actually, the whole story of Dely does make me think a little about your story as well, Sean, because last year Patrick Lefevre turned up at the family farm. Not quite as long a journey as those who were after your signature, Sean, had to make back in the day. Mr. Lefevre turned up in a helicopter, and I don't think the Dely family, quite a humble family, were that impressed, were they? They decided to stay where they were, wanted to begin to repay Lotto Soudal. No, we don't any of that flash helicopter stuff.
Hey,
we are
up,
humble
you're scaring
people.
the beasts.
Yes.
Well, that is a great story actually, because yeah, we did hear about that. I think maybe was it maybe 2 years ago now, but
yeah, 18 months ago.
Yes. So yeah, of course, yeah, Patrick Lefevre. You know, some people love him in Belgium, but other people, you know, maybe not so. But they did not like that when he turned up by helicopter, and yeah, there was no question of him going to Patrick Lefevre's team. And as you mentioned about my one as well, De Gabaldi came to Ireland out of the blue. Actually, I had been in France for part of the year in '76 and won a few races, and then he appeared in the end of November, early December. Just arrived in Dublin, took a taxi and came to the farm, and you know, rocked up there. And I didn't know who De Gabaldi was. I'd never had met him before, but there was a teammate from the club in Metz. He came over with him, and then he explained the situation, and that was the start of my career.
Television viewers have just gone off for a commercial break, hence the reason Sean had to pause very quickly there. But what a journey that must have been for your mentor, but really just, you know, coming down, you said, taking a taxi from Dublin, and it's not next door to Dublin where you're from, is it?
Well, it certainly wasn't next door back in that time, because there was no motorway, so you had to go through every village on that 120-mile journey. So it was a long one in a taxi. And yeah, they arrived on to the farm. My mother was there, and she, you know, was wondering what was happening here, and they wanted to talk to me. And the pilot, he travelled with them down, so he was translating. And yeah, I had been out with the tractor, and on the way back, and I met this taxi coming against me, and there were flashing lights, and I thought they were looking for directions. And you know, out hopped Noel Conversay. He was a rider that was in the club with me, that raced with me in the Metz club, and I recognised him immediately. And he was saying, "This is Mr. Gabaldi, and he wants you to sign for Flandre, Freddie Martins. It's the biggest team, the great riders." And of course, it was his dream to turn professional, Conversay. So he was, you know, giving me all the good stories that, you know, it was the thing to do. And if I signed, De Gabaldi had promised Conversay that he could turn professional also. So that was the story attached to it. And yeah, came back to the farmhouse, and we had a big chat. And then yeah, I signed a couple of weeks later, and that was the start of my career. But something I wasn't thinking about doing. I was hoped to go back another year to Metz as an amateur and get another year there, because I thought I was too young to become professional. And you know, back in that day, you didn't have, you know, as much people to give you guidance as you have now, and everybody have their coach, they have their agent, all of that, where in my day it did not exist.
Wonderful. What a story, how times change, how things change, and the effort that people in the know will go to when they spot somebody to have them on their team. And, well, genesis of your career there, Sean. Well, Arnaud Dely choosing to stay with Lotto Destiny, and well, it has been their destiny to reap the rewards of his talent so far. Brilliant win in the Belgian Nationals, huge for the team. And let's not forget that Lotto Destiny, much thanks to Arnaud Dely's recent success, are in a position to be promoted again at the end of next year, should they continue to sustain that success. They're in the promotion positions at the moment, and looking like they're on their way back to the top table of professional cycling. Mathieu van der Poel back towards the car. Strange, isn't it? Third day of a Tour de France, and we've hardly seen him so far, the man in the rainbow stripes. Brand new bike as well. He's got the new aeroed on, new paint job on. And there he is. Have a chat with the car. He's on helper duty today, Robbie.
Yep, says he's doing the lead out for Jasper Philipsen. He's on a new model of bike, as yet unreleased to the general public. sense, doesn't it? One of the biggest stars in world cycling, getting very first go before anyone else gets near it. But yeah, he has said today is all about Jasper Philipsen, but certainly Mathieu van der Poel will pick out his goals throughout this tour. And he said, you know, a while before this tour started, that the first couple of days were too hard for him. Then it was looking good for Jasper. Stage 4, no good. I'm 100% certain he's looking forward to the gravel stage. Stage 8.
Stage 9, the gravel stage. You were there, end of the first week. So 180 kilometers to go. We've seen a few riders from Visma Lease Bike in and around. It's happy birthday to Matteo Jorgensen, we said already a couple of times. Great news for Jonas Vingegaard yesterday. Maybe a chance for Wout van Aert today. We're going to hear from Christian Neerman now. And on the other side of that, the next voice you will hear will be that of Carlton Kirby.
Christian Neerman, at the start of this Tour de France, this is a perfect situation for Visma Lease Bike that you don't have the yellow jersey so early.
Yeah, of course. I mean, having the yellow jersey, of course, is also a big honor. But under these circumstances, yeah, we are happy that we don't have it yet.
For Jonas Vingegaard yesterday, he showed that he must be in good form. The fact he was so attentive to the attack of Tadej Pogačar, that's a real promising sign.
Yeah, I mean, we did expect some time loss and at least some loss of bonifications from Jonas towards Pogačar. And that over the weekend that didn't happen. So yeah, we are really happy with how things started at least.
For today, it's the first opportunity for the sprinters. Is there going to be any free role for either Wout van Aert or Christophe Laporte within the team?
Yeah, we'll see. Like if Wout feels good, he had a crash yesterday, but then he most likely will try for the sprint. But we will see during the stage, and it will be a long day in the saddle.
After a night of sleep, how is Wout feeling? Also Matteo too, and it's his birthday today.
Yeah, they're okay. I mean, Matteo gave himself a nice birthday present yesterday because he hit a pothole and went down. And unfortunately also took Wout, but yeah, that's these things happen, and yeah, they are okay. And also Wilco crashed the first day is okay.
Good. Thank you very much. Best of luck. Thanks, Grisha.
Thanks to Rob Hatch. Thanks to Grisha as well. An update on the bumps and bruises that are being suffered at the moment by Visma Lease Bike. You've got to ride your fortune, especially on the Tour de France. You're always going to have a bad day out there, Robbie. It's just how you cope with it.
Everyone's going to have a bad day in a Grand Tour. It's just a case of when it comes, and hopefully if you're a GC rider, your bad day is on a flat day. We can just sit in the wheels, suffer a bit more, but not lose any time and not suffer the effects of it. And for others, yeah, it's just hoping your bad day is not that bad that it puts you out of the race. For the GC guys, it's really about having your bad day only as bad as someone else's mediocre day.
Precisely that. I mean, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Just a question about yesterday, Robbie. Some sort of pointed discussion yesterday about whether Pogačar should have actually worked with Jonas Vingegaard. I know it didn't appear like that, at least at the start, but then the elbows were flicking out like a dodgy dad dance, and they were sharing the duty. And it seemed that Pogačar put just maybe a little bit too much time into his own teammates. Adam Yates falling into that spectacular supportive role that he, of course, in any other team, I think he'd be number one. But yeah, just falling back there. But I'm just wondering whether there was any kind of thoughts in your mind as to what Tadej Pogačar was potentially doing to his teammates, who you'd want surely to be a little close around him, going deeper into this race, just in case anything happens to Tadej Pogačar himself.
Well, the thing is, I think for one, 21 seconds is no disaster for having Adam Yates there. We're just going to hear a bit of race radio from Visma Lease Bike.
And secondly, I just looked up different weather forecasts again. For now, the most likely scenario is that some rain/thunderstorms in the middle of the stage and dry again towards the end. But yeah, with thunderstorms, of course, we can never know. And I asked all the people on the side of the road from us to tell us in case it starts raining.
Oh, well, that comes completely in line with what I was talking about earlier, looking at the weather forecast. Between 2 and 3 p.m, the 50-50 chance of thunderstorms going over the course, but by all accounts, all forecasts saying that it will be dry between 4 and 5 p.m, so around the finish, hopefully for the riders, the forecast is correct and it should be dry. But back to your question, Carlton, one, it's not too bad to have the teammates of Tadej Pogacar at 21 seconds. They were in the group of some other pre-race favourites. I think that number one, Tadej Pogacar really wanted to test Jonas Vingegaard, get a handle on where he's really at, because nobody has known. So that question was answered. Once they got off the front, there were those two together. There was in both their interest to work, because they'd left Primož Roglic behind. They'd also distanced Remco Evenepoel at that point. So it was really the right thing to do for both of them to work together to put more distance between themselves, and particularly Primož Roglic. I think he would have been their primary concern, and that's why we saw them eventually, more than we've ever seen before, I think, really work together, because we've seen in past tours when there's been the flick of the elbow from either of them, it's sort of been ignored by the other and just no work done. But yesterday it was definitely the right thing for both of them to do. Eventually Remco Evenepoel was able to negate the damage completely by getting back on, but they've done a good thing for themselves on GC by just putting a little bit of time into Primož Roglic.
It's Simon Geska in a kit I've described actually as almost like a Blackburn Rovers away kit. It looks more quartered when you look at the front. I like what they've done with it, to be honest. Simon Geska, just an absolute engine room when it comes to looking after the likes of Brian Cocard, who today could get his first Tour de France stage win. He came extraordinarily close. 2015 or 2016 on the Champs-Élysées, finishing runner-up that day, and it was very, very tight at the line as well. He's kind of been waiting a long time, Brian Cocard, to realise his full class, I think, or at least come out of his own little shadow that he created himself. Quite a precocious rider back in the day. But I've kind of warmed to him very much over the years, and now I'm really gunning for Brian Cocard. I'd love to see him get a good result. No stress at all today, and likewise with the exchanges here, Robbie.
No stress. I was hoping to get a bit more of that vibe with the F1 pit stop with the rattle gun, but wasn't much of it. Yeah, no reason to panic with a change at this point in the race.
You take your pleasures where you can on a day like this.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've got to look forward to something. We're missing Jonathan Harris-Bass and his eloquent renditions of recipes that fit the region we're riding through, so I'm back to rattle guns.
Well, a vital ingredient in any day, as this tour has revealed, is Danny Rowe. Danny, welcome back to the commentary position. It's been wonderful to have you along. And now, of course, you've got the experience of, I don't know, giving us that giving that banjo lesson that you've always been talking about.
Banjo lesson? Carlton,
I don't know.
Where did that come from?
Well, we can make anything up we like today.
I mean, sitting next to Robbie McEwen is definitely new to me, but something I'm enjoying so far, and being part of the team is brilliant. So yeah, a nice bit of a recovery day for a lot of the riders today by the looks of things so far, but I mean, well deserved after those first two brutal days that we had.
Certainly. I was just talking to Robbie actually before you came in about the wisdom of Pogacar teaming up with Vingegaard. I mean, it was a test to see what Vingegaard had in his legs, but the overriding captain of a team naturally is Tadej Pogacar, but it can be an advantage to have several riders who are lingering around in the classification, and he kind of put time into his own teammates. And I was just wondering your thoughts, really. It is a way, if you do have teammates close at hand, to put pressure on a competitor, someone like Jonas Vingegaard, who could be forced to deal with attacks and things like that from Pogacar's teammates, because, you know, if he wants to win it, he's going to have to watch not only Pogacar, but those who are close to the top. Now, Robbie's saying, quite rightly, there's not that much of a gap just for the time being, but was it wise to team up with Vingegaard in such a fashion, or will we see it again?
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of question marks, wasn't there, of course, over Vingegaard and how he was going, and I think he answered a lot of those, even to himself. He said yesterday it was a bit of a surprise that he could follow that attack of Pogacar, and he did. He put a little bit of time into some of his teammates. He's got Ayuso there in the group that were at 21 seconds. But looking at the form that they've come into this tour with, they are the A team, UAE Emirates. You know, looking after Pogacar here with Ayuso, with Almeida, and with Yates, respectively, after that incredible performance in the Tour de Suisse. So, I mean, I think for both teams, it was a really positive day from the whole team of the two of them, to be honest. So, yeah, I think they'll be happy with that one.
I'm sure they will be. Let's turn the clock back, shall we? Turin, the birthplace of the first Italian king, Victor Emmanuel II. I remember him well. First, welcomed the Tour de France, of course, in 1956. And on stage 17, the riders set off from Gap, and the infamous Tifosi lining the roads were hopeful of an Italian victory. Well, with 23 kilometres to go, Charlie Gall, winner of the recent Giro d'Italia, was leading the race and going solo on the Col de Sestriere. But the man from Luxembourg wasn't happy, complaining to his DS, Nico France, that he hadn't been properly informed about the position of the chasing group behind. And indeed, they were right on his tail. Well, Gall eventually decided to sit up and was caught by the group of 15 riders, and together they made their way onto the communal stadium in Turin for the final sprint shootout in front of 60,000 fans. Well, three riders soon got a gap, and the Italian was up there. Nico De Philippis, the Belgian, Ocus, and the Frenchman, Bourvin. Strong finisher, roared on by the home crowd. It was De Philippis who won the day. I think his first arrival in Turin, a huge success. And that was the fifth of 6 Italian stage wins in the 1956 Tour, and the third for De Philippis, who ended up 5th overall. I got a massive kiss off his manager by the looks of things as well. I'm not surprised. No tongues. 172.7 kilometres from home. Sean Kelly rearing in the corner here. Just a little bit of roadworks here. 37 kilometres per hour is our pace at the moment. I think the average is probably a little bit less than that. What on earth could spark this up for us, Danny? Apart from our wonderful play-ins that we've been enjoying.
I mean, it's hard to say at this moment in time, isn't it? The first Queen of the I keep saying Queen of the Mountains, King of the Mountains competition. Maybe we've got Abrahamson leading in that competition. He's wearing the green jersey, as that trumps the polka dot jersey, of course, and he's currently 8 points ahead of Valentin Madouas, the Groupama FDJ rider. It's a short climb, only 1.1 kilometres at 6.3%, and the top comes with 160.6k to go. So, I mean, maybe that will fire them up a little bit when they reach the bottom of that climb. Let's hope so, at least.
Let's wait and see. I haven't quite caught a sight of the bike yet, because I understand that Abrahamson has actually got polka dots on his bike, despite the fact he's wearing the green jersey. It's sort of an homage to both. I think they've been to a local stationers and found some pink stickers and put them on. Whether that's the case or not, I'm still waiting to see. I didn't notice earlier on. You know, there's still 171.7 kilometres of the day remaining, and it kind of feels like this indeed could even be the start. It's a very long day even before it started, with a 180-kilometre transfer, Mark Cavendish was telling us at the beginning of the day, just to start us off. His alarm went off at 10 to 6 this morning. I don't know what he had for breakfast. I'm hoping it was 2 shredded wheat, because, quite frankly, I would absolutely love it to be 35 today. There is a big chance for him because of the technical nature of the finale. That's where, as he describes, he might well have a kick against the power men. Let's see. Robbie McEwen, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the finale a little bit later on, but Mark, talking about the perceived changes within sprinters and the fact that they're much bulkier and quicker these days. It's a change of sort of form, really, for Mark. He never had the ideal sprinter's physique. He was kind of told that after by British cycling, something he never forgot. And he's reminded us that there are other ways of doing jobs, and Mark Cavendish, super aero, his fast twitch muscles are something to behold, and this is the man who's going to be leading him in, Michael Moco, a little bit later on. Somebody he says he has ultimate trust in to deliver him where he needs to be. But a technical finale, Robbie, let's have a first nip at this. In a certain way, it might open a door for Mark against the pure power men.
Well, Carlton, I'm just going to go back to the first part about body types have changed and Mark's not suited to being a cyclist now and being a sprinter. Rubbish.
Robbie's just looking down at his own
rubbish.
physique, by the way.
I'm just waiting for you to get to the end of your spiel there so I could just say rubbish.
Go on then.
Because sprinters, they do come in all shapes and sizes, from your Marcel Kittles through your Andre Greipels,
well,
big
Christoph
and
versus
muscular,
Coquard,
as well as tall. Yeah. Alessandro Patacchi, tall and rangy. Mario Cipollini back in there. Eric Zabel didn't look particularly muscular. You go through to guys like Thor Hushovd, Jimmy Casper, small and chunky. Different body types. It all works.
I think that's the beauty of cycling, actually. If you look at, the physique of bike riders, you see such a vast array of body types. Yes, of course, it's about, your fast twitch muscle fibers versus your slow twitch and that kind of thing when it comes to the physiology of any athlete. But actually, in cycling, we see such a range of body types. And yeah, I have to agree with you there, Robbie, when we heard that interview from Mark Cavendish. I think it was after stage 1 when he really, really struggled, of course, saying, if you've got the body type like me, then don't even think about starting cycling. I just don't agree with that either.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was heat stroke.
I think it was just. I think it was almost. It's almost a bookend comment for his career, isn't it? Because he was told that his numbers didn't really stack up to be a sprinter, and of course he's proven everybody wrong. I think he's just reminding us. He'll be thinking about every single aspect of his career since the very start, because he's on the eve of immortality here, isn't he?
He is on the eve of immortality, but you know what I think it was early in his career, and it was very much like me. It wasn't that he was told you haven't got the capacity to be a sprinter. They look more in those tests your capacity to climb, time trial, have a big VO2, not necessarily the number one things you need to be a good sprinter. There are other attributes that they just cannot measure.
Welcome back, everybody. Those of you who've been away, don't forget you can keep in touch ad-free on Discovery Plus, where there's a fantastic new timeline marker service as well, where you'll be able to kind of skip around, jump around some of the action points of the day. Today, that action point is likely to be a rear wheel change, at least so far, I'm afraid, because we're kind of waiting. If this is a hiatus, it's a long one. Indeed, the likes of Campanar's got time to just go and have a chit-chat. We've seen further back in the pack as well. There's been those who've found themselves, I don't know, with time to spare. It will all add to the drama at the end of the day, however, because we've had watchwords and warnings from DSs. Just keep yourself where you need to be, absolutely focused. Don't go falling asleep, for goodness sake. This is interesting. Christophe Laporte, our European champion, who is deemed to be the man who's going to be leading Wout van Aert out. They are the walking wounded at the moment, Robbie.
They are. They have had a really rough season, obviously well documented. Wout van Aert, Jonas Vingegaard, and then losing two riders who are due to ride the Tour, in Dylan van Baarle and Steven Kruijswijk. That has led to Bart Lemon being taken up in the Tour selection of Visma Lease bike. Wout van Aert hitting the deck yesterday, ripping his shorts, but he pretty quickly gave us the thumbs up that he was A-OK, and we'll see if he gets involved in the sprint this afternoon, him and Christophe Laporte. What you were mentioning there earlier too, Carlton, about a polka dot bike, well, it put in Kevin Vauquelin, who I didn't see the whole of his bike in that last shot.
No, me either.
He may be guilty of guilty, in very lightheartedly said, of a polka dot look bike, but the man who's actually leading the competition, Jonas Abrahamsen, is also leading the green jersey competition.
Yeah,
he's
it takes
had a busy
primacy.
couple of days out, and he's the Hulk today.
He is, and which made me wonder whether he'd actually stuck some. The reports are that he stuck some pink stickers on his green bike. I'm waiting to see that because he's actually leader of both competitions. I think they were having an extra little bit of a bragging rights there. Coming up to our intermediate sprint actually, and it is today in just passing through Tortona, and it's the final resting place of Fausto Coppi, Danny, one of the absolute greats of the sport since its inception, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So the intermediate sprint today is coming with 136.5 kilometres to go, so not a technical entry into that one, but it will be hotly contested, I'm sure, for that green jersey that we were just talking about on the shoulders of Abrahamsen. So he leads 7 points over our winner of yesterday's stage in Kevin Vokolan. So yeah, again, lots of points on offer for today.
Well, we're talking a lot about Fausto Coppi, I'm sure, as the nearer we get. At the end of the day, we might just be talking, well, we will be talking about Mark Cavendish no matter what. We think today's technical finale may well suit him. Let us see. I've certainly seen the camera whenever it's come along. He's given it the old short shrift. He does not want to look into it. Here's a new aero design for you.
That's a look and a half, that, isn't it?
I think it's actually it's supposed to be anti-sun glare. I don't know. Those who have a large schmozzle, sometimes Kelly's lost it. Sometimes you can get a little bit of glare if it's just a bead up on the end of your nose.
Surely not. Surely not. Come on. There's good enough sun cream out there now, and the helmet's blocking the direct sunlight into these riders' eyes. That's ridiculous. There's got to be some sort of aero game situation.
It is. It's for the aero. I've just read a short report on it. When you look at it from any angle, really, I won't say I'm a fan of it, but it's a bit Dark Knight, isn't it? Batman mask.
Don't sacrifice style over speed.
Yeah, we've actually got the original Batman helmet in or face mask, call it what you want. It's got a couple of bat ears on the top, of course, in the reception here in Chiswick Park, home, of course, of Warner Bros. Discovery. Well, here's a man who I think must be, Danny, moderately disappointed by the last couple of days. But, I mean, it appears true then. He's been talking himself down as far as the GC ambitions are concerned. It's not gone well, the first openers.
No, but I don't think he'll be disappointed. I actually question whether he would try and not lose time, and maybe there was a potential that we could see Geraint Thomas, you know, trying to go for the double and featuring highly on that general classification. But it seems not, and I think actually it's beneficial to Ineos and their, you know, commitment to Carapaz coming into coming into this tour and his aspirations. He's put so much into this, and he said, you know, a year ago that the Tour de France was his ambition, and he wanted to go for that podium. So, yeah, I was listening to a podcast that Geraint Thomas was on before the tour, and he had his wisdom tooth out after coming back down from altitude, and he said his first few training sessions he felt absolutely awful. So I think actually for the team, just looking at the bike here, there are no stickers on the bike there of Abrahamsen. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a positive for Ineos. I think it makes their direction very, very clear in this tour.
Let us see. Young rider classification. The man in white is Remco Evenepoel. The woman in white was very much part of Fausto Coppi's life, which caused a scandal back in the day. We might visit that.
The peloton is just coming back into sight. We actually thought we deserved the luxury of stopping at a little coffee shop, and we had a double espresso. While these riders don't have a chance yet to have an espresso, but you can see by the body language, everybody is relaxed. It's a very safe day. The roads are straightforward, large roads. It is as relaxed as it gets in the Tour de France, and I probably would say this is the most relaxed start of a stage in the Tour in the last 20 years. Probably as far back as I can remember, this is the most relaxed day, and it is well deserved for all the riders because they had two really hard days in the legs already. Back to the commentators.
Thank you very much, Jensi. We're just acknowledging the greats as we head around some of the palaces that I'm now rooting through trying to find. This is where you need your John Harris pass and more. Anyway, I've failed you. I'll have a look in a short while. It was a palace. Looked very nice. Got a lovely mural. That's about all I've got for you. As we come into Tortona, it must have been something to do with Fausto Coppi. I mentioned the woman in white as we were talking about the man in white was Remco Evenepoel. The woman in white was Giulia Occini, and it caused a huge scandal in Italy back in the day because it was a very close friend of a certain Mr. Fausto Coppi, and it all had to be kept very, very secret. But in the world of cycling, it was in full view. She used to cruise around in an open-topped convertible, encouraging him and indeed throwing abuse at his rivals. Apparently, it was not enjoyed at all. It's a great story. There's more on it. I'll let you go and dig into it. But yeah, there's an awful lot more that we'll be able to say today around the day. 164.1 kilometres. Would you believe 1,100 metres of altitude gain today? I don't know whether that's just running over sleeping policemen over such a distance. It could well be the case. It's not the quickest, and even Jens Vogt, who is taking lozenges, by the way, just before he comes to air. So if you're wondering what he's poking into the side of his cheek, that's it. He's also been able to stop off, get himself a couple of Doppio Espressos, and get back in without any stress, Danny. That's the watchword of the day, I think. Stressless. For now, anyway.
It is, but again, very well deserved after the first few days. You can see the riders so relaxed, just chatting to each other. A little bit of pace being set by Alpes and de Koenig on the front, but yeah, nice easy day for them.
Well, this is one of those days where we're going to let you have some ambience. Oh dear. However beautiful Italy is, there is always the Lego boxes, I'm afraid, as well. Most startling in a place called Matara, which is where they filmed The Passion of the Christ. Yes, with their incredible troglodyte houses built into the hillside, and still existing as restaurants and the like. I remember pointing it out to Dan Lloyd while we were sitting there eating something, and he really wasn't bothered at all. But yes, there's always the sense of modernity around the ancient as well. That's the great mix of Italy, I guess you might say, addressing what was, of course, the most historic form and indeed of architecture and the like. In fact, they do say that if you take architecture and indeed ancient artifacts, Italy's got about 90% of the world's. So, yeah, it's where humanity first started imposing itself on nature, I guess, or trying to manage it. We've come a long way since then, and much to the detriment, many of you say. Gosh, we've got philosophical all of a sudden, so much so I can't even say it. Alpes in de Koenig today. Van der Poel helping out Jesper Philipsen, Jonas Rickert getting involved, Gianni Vermeersch as well. It is about the fast men. Jens Vogt saying that they deserve a rest. I think the riders themselves, this is about as near to a benign protest as you're going to get, Danny.
It is indeed. Alpes and de Koenig, they've come to the front, haven't they, just before we take this turn onto the first king of the mountains point today, this fourth category climb. But yeah, it is all about the sprinters. Arguably, Alpes and de Koenig have the favourite in Jasper Philipsen, and I think with Mathieu van der Poel as his final lead-out man, he has got the best opportunity to take this first sprint stage. But it is going to be a nervy one. Like Robbie mentioned in the breakaway, you've got those two left-hand turns that come within the last kilometre, and because they are such wide roads, it's going to make it so hectic, because actually you can look at the end of a sprint stage and see that it's not actually a technical one, you know, with narrow roads, twists and turns in those last few K, but actually it makes it even more carnage because you've got that ability for riders and teams to come up on either side and kind of we create that washing machine effect in the final, and it just makes it absolutely carnage.
And Alpecin de Koenig are not the only team here with a very well-drilled and strong lead-out train. I mean, you even look at some of the riders we haven't spoken about yet. We've talked about Mads Pedersen, Dylan Groenewegen, but a team like Intermarché Wanty with Gerben Thijssen coming off the back of Mike Turnison, Biniam Gourmet, Hugo Page, Lawrence Rex. That is a really strong lead-out train. And the same goes for Arkea B&B Hotels. For Arnaud Demar, he's got Dan McLeod, Luca Mozzato, Omori Capio as well. So another well-drilled and really strong, fast team of lead-out riders. So I'm looking forward to a really good battle with maybe somewhat of a surprise winner today, because it's the type of sprint where being straight ahead, fairly wide, a lot of room to move. If you can just stay organised and stay together, you can still come from quite a way behind if you can stick with your team and get the room to move. And it'll be all about coming out of the wheels and getting that slingshot out of the slipstream. It's a type of sprint that's really difficult to lead out and defend and win, because riders coming out of the slipstream with a big long run in it, if they can get the room to get out, you get a big slingshot and just come flying on by.
Yeah, I'm wondering what Astana Kazakhstan are going to do in regards to Mark Cavendish. Obviously, they've got Case Bowl and Morkov, who will be his final men in that lead-out. Where are they going to be looking at as to where to drop Mark Cavendish off? Is it on the back of a lead-out train? And which train would that be, do you think, Robbie?
I don't think with the lead-out team they've got here that first off they'd like to drop Mark off, unless he is given the instruction, just get me on the wheel of, example, Philipsen. But I don't think Cav wants to get himself in a battle, in a fight, because that takes extra energy to fight your way in. I think ideally they'd like to do their own lead-out and have Ballerini, Boll and Morkov get Cav to within 200 metres, say on a sprint like today's, at sort of 180, 170 metres to go. 200 is still quite a long way at that sort of high speed with people in your slipstream. It's hard to fend them off. So I think that's what they'd like to do. His last win in the Tour of Hungary recently was exactly that. Mikko Mørkøv got Cav to within about 150 metres of the finish, and he won that stage in front of Dylan Groenewegen. So I think for a lot of those teams, first opportunity bunch sprint, they want to be able to do their own thing, stick to their plan A, unless things are really going wrong, and then they'll look for another plan and look for something else to do to get the maximum result.
Sometimes, experience counts for an awful lot, and especially on a day like today, where you've kind of got to be nursed through. Experienced DSs are going to help in that regard, and likewise teammates. Fabio Jakobs, I'm not overly enthusiastic about his chances today, I must admit. He's very much gone off the boil, but he could be picked up. John Degenkolb, we've just seen him taking a feed. I mentioned Matara remarkably not very long ago, a few moments ago, and it was a famous win for John Degenkolb up Matara. And he suddenly pops up. Here's the Chateau de Tortona. Yes, Fausto Coppi's final resting place was indeed this town, and so we've visited naturally enough. And we're on a climb. We've just got 300 metres to go. It looks like the least contested climb that we've had so far. I don't know whether the green jersey has actually filtered his way through, and here he is. And he's almost bought the right for this, hasn't he? Because he's been so busy, possibly the busiest of all riders over the 2 days, making sure that he's in the breaks, hoovering up mountains points, and nobody really has the will to stop him. It's a nice atmosphere at the top as well. Let's drink it in. Well, he's getting greedy. It's as simple as that, Danny. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him, exactly. It's great for him, great for the team as well. They've come into this tour with the ambition of stage wins, of course, but the jersey's important as well. A little bit of a fight here, though.
Oh, yeah, no gifts. Oh, he only just made it. He had to work for that.
Jonas Rickert saying, we'll give it to you, but you got to work for it.
Nice bit of camaraderie, though, isn't it? We'd love to see it.
I like that.
Actually, I did a similar thing once to Richard Virenque in the Pyrenees on a Cat 1 climb. Fortunately for me, we'd ridden really easy up the thing.
How are you still there?
I was on the front row, and we were riding up really, really easy, and so that the whole field basically saying, we're going to make sure the whole peloton is intact. We're not going to drop anyone to ride up and sort of set the pace that was comfortable enough for me. But then there was the KOM and Richard Virenque, and in the mountain jersey, you want to take top points, kind of like this situation. And he started to go, and I thought, why not? I'll have a laugh. And I nipped around the outside of him, came alongside and put my wheel just in front of him, and the look of horror on his face was just marvellous.
I'm surprised he didn't hit
Until
you off the bike.
I just dabbed the brakes and let him win by a matter of inches. It was only after that he saw the funny side. Just.
I remember when there was a lot of arguments, wasn't there, in the welter, when Chris Froome threw his bike at the line on the final stage. Everyone was thinking, well, he's a bit busy on a parade day, and it was to make sure that he got the points jersey, which Matteo Trentin had been leading the competition, and he was absolutely steaming livid at the end of that. Maybe there shouldn't be any gifts, but it gives us stories to talk about, doesn't it, Darren?
It does indeed. Look how relaxed this is. Riders just so chilled on the side of the road. No need for panic. Even after that climb, they'll have a little bit of a descent now, and then another hugely long flat section. We've got that intermediate sprint, of course, in between.
Well cheered away. No stress whatsoever today. It's going to go on for quite some time. We have...
Carlson, well. The stress will build now for certain members of the peloton. We're only 21k to go to the intermediate sprint with 4 points on offer.
Indeed. Well, let's see what Bramson has. We've got just enough time to get on board with Jens Vogt, who will be coming to us after the break for some of you. Don't worry, you won't miss out. Bogadot, almost, well, he's not in the front, he's at the back at the moment, but he's not stressed at all, just spinning it up and indeed heading down some of these rather fetching roads. It's a flat open plain with a couple of spikes within it, and we're playing with a couple of them today. That's the first of our climbs that we have dealt with. There are in fact 3 today. However, full altitude gain, you think, well, can't be that flat if there's 1100 meters and 28 altitude gain, but it's the distance, 230. And after starting with a huge transfer this morning of 180 kilometers, according to Mark Cavendish, on the bus, something he said we're not really used to. That was the polite version, I think. Possibly a very different one when he got on the bus itself. Yeah, it's been a long day, and it will be a very long day at the end of it, which made me wonder, Robbie, about a benign protest from the riders. The way that the brake kind of went up almost jocular fashion for earlier on for UnoX Mobility, and then just thought, nah, we're not doing that. I can understand it, but how will it be going down with the race organisers?
I think the race organisers would have expected this sort of scenario, what is essentially a completely flat stage. Okay, a couple of lumps and bumps that are only Cat 4s, and we saw one of them just now. They would expect that the pace would not be really on. Yeah, they might have liked to see a small group of adventurers go out to sort of keep the pace high. It's what we've seen in other Grand Tours over the years, where invited teams always seem to be the ones going up the road because they get the brief at the start of the race, or when they get their invitation. It's up to you to keep the race moving. So when nothing's happening, you're the ones that need to make it happen, because we've got average speeds to meet and TV broadcast schedules to hold. But today, this is pretty much par for the course, and rolling along like they are now, the current average speed is hovering around 38 kilometres an hour. That will only go up, and they'll finish the day at somewhere just north of 40.
It's going to be a long old day coming by La Zona. A big looks like a river delta, to be honest. a lot of runoff from the mountains, but there aren't any around here. So go figure. Marshland, perhaps, that's what they're bridging. I've seen some of these bridges sort of half finished where the money's run out in certain parts of the world, certain parts of Italy, I should say. Incidentally, they even-handed with their funding per capita in Italy. You go in the north, and quite frankly, around the sort of alpine areas, everything works. It's amazing. And then you go to the far, far south, and virtually nothing does. It's a strange one. Go figure. Well, it's one of those days today. Jens Vogt has already given us his opinion of why the day is as it is. It's basically just been punishing so far. And so, Jens Vogt joining us. Jens, what to report?
Alrighty then. I used the chance to talk to a few teams. Let's start with the easy ones. Bora Hansgrohe. Danny van Poppel will not have the right to sprint. He will stay the personal bodyguard for Primoz Roglic. All for Roglic. Then I went to talk to Mark Renshaw, Team Astana Kazakhstan. And he went, look, we don't have too many matches to burn. We only want to hit the... Talk to the team of Alpecin with Jasper Philipsen. And I went, hey, listen, are you really going to have the champion being the last lead-out man? And the people in the car gave me that broad smile and said, yep, we have the world champion, Mathieu van der Poel, as a lead-out man. So I picked him as a favorite. Closely followed by Groenewegen, who looked good the other days. I also talked to Team Cofidis. Said, hey, what do you prefer for Brian Cocard? A lead-out or surfing the wheels? And he went, we prefer lead-out. That's a lot of confidence. Jimmy Angolvong in the car told me, yes, we want to do a lead-out for Brian Cocard. So there's a few different scenarios possible for the sprint, but 100% sure it will be a sprint, right?
Jens, so you've been along a few of the cars. I wonder if you maybe just stopped in at the Jaco Alula car to get some information on the nose piece of Dylan Groenewegen, making him look somewhat like Batman with the mask on, and get the lowdown on what the aerodynamic advantage is with that nose piece that Dylan's wearing. But interestingly also, start of the day, he had that nose piece on, so if it's for aerodynamics, he was also wearing an open style helmet with vents in it. Is he planning then, this could be homework for you to go and find out, is he planning a helmet change to an aero helmet for the last part of the stage, if in fact that's what the nose piece is for?
I love the way how you think and how you look at the little details and you think about every little advantage. I will do that ASAP. When we get off this call, I will check and I will pass that info on to you.
ASAP, I love that. Jensi himself's got a very slick, flicky visor as well. He's the kind of guy himself who knows all the ins and outs. That being the case, Jensi, who's taking it a bit too easy today? Who's stopped to buy a Minty Magnum?
In the moment, really, I have to say everybody's on a very relaxed mood. Everybody's just chilling out. There's no speed, no pressure, no stress. So everybody's super happy with that. Dylan Groenewegen was hiding himself quite well the other days, wasn't getting dropped with the other sprinters, and is perfectly invisible today. And I forgot to add, I went also to the car of a Visma Lease bike. I asked Grisha Niemann, the sport director, said, hey Grisha, first question, is Wout van Aert okay after the crash? He went, yep, thumbs up, he is all good. And then I said, will he have the chance to go for a sprint? And Grisha Niemann said, well, if Wout says he feels good, he has the right to sprint. That doesn't sound like they give him a full lead-out train, but at least he will have the freedom to follow somebody else's wheel and try his luck in the sprint. So he might be a single fighter in the sprint, but Wout van Aert, it's still a force to reckon with.
Jens, one last quick one on the weather conditions. We see it's dry at the moment, but just for you, taking a look forward along the course into the distance, what's your feeling? Is there anything sort of looming on the horizon that you can see? Because a lot of teams are talking about potential thunderstorms, and so is the forecast.
Well, I checked my weather app. It says 50-50. My motorbike driver said 70% chance of rain. And already twice today I had a few raindrops on my visor, only for a few minutes, but a few drops. So yes, it's definitely something we have to keep an eye out. For the moment, it's still stable, dry, and basically perfect conditions. It's nice and warm, but not stinky hot. The riders enjoy the day you cannot imagine. It's so much easier on everybody with the temperatures like we have it right now.
We don't want any more stinky hot. Thank you, Jensi. That's absolutely brilliant. If you could pop along to find out how Sam Bennett's feeling, Sean would be absolutely delighted. We'll be hearing more from Jens Vogt, of course, throughout this week. It'll be Matt Stevens and Adam Blythe who are sharing bike duties as we go deeper into this amazing Tour de France. ...151 kilometres to go. Not that long to the intermediate sprint. How feisty is this going to be, Robbie?
Well, this intermediate sprint I expect to be quite feisty. Looking back at yesterday's intermediate sprint, as we get a little wave and a smile from Fabio Jakobsen, happier times. Now he's out of the hills, at least for a while. Hopefully he can get himself up to the pointy end when it counts today. But it is going to get feisty at this intermediate sprint. We look back at yesterday, the break up the road, they were racing for minor points. I think they were between 11th and 15th left, so 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 points left on offer. But there was quite the stoush and the tangle between Mads Pedersen and Jasper Philipsen. And Philipsen so very nearly came to grief. It was so close to a really nasty high-speed crash. I think even he doesn't quite know how he held it up. Chain flipped off in the end. He took no further part in that intermediate sprint, but Demar was there, also Biniam Gourmet. Mads Pedersen was trying to get amongst it. So there's still plenty of riders in this peloton who are at the moment intent on going for the green jersey. So I think it's going to be hard fought.
I hope so. It's also a nice opportunity for them to test the legs, isn't it? When it's been this easy from the start of the stage.
And far enough away from the finish that you can make a full recovery.
Absolutely.
Great to have Jens Vogt just to sort of order around, really. He's almost like our manservant, which is brilliant. I mean, John Harris-Bass is used to that kind of thing. But yeah, the nose piece. Do you know, I always wonder about all of these aero amendments that are made, and then somebody goes and wears a dirty, great big gold bangle around their neck. And I remember talking to well, various people have said, well, it's amazing what a psychological advantage of a lucky charm would have, but...
it'd make it hard to breathe with a bangle around your neck, wouldn't it, Danny? Since they're meant for your wrist.
I guess so.
Talking about lucky charms, though, Carlton, I've got a few to throw in for you. So obviously the Olympics in 2012 rode with Laura Kenny, who is the most decorated British Olympian. Hers was to walk on a wet towel before the start of the race.
Really?
So we had to both do it. I always shared a room with Laura before a race. So we both had to walk on a wet towel. I mean, so random.
Was it before you left the hotel?
Yeah,
or?
Before we left the hotel. She was the queen of lucky charms. I had to wear her lucky earrings in the Olympics. She had lucky this, lucky that, a lucky last song that she would listen to. So yeah, I mean, it means a lot, and that psychological advantage is everything, isn't it? But I mean, aerodynamic gains are too, and that was also something that British Cycling put a huge amount of effort into. They had the secret squirrel club, and we always had access to the best marginal gains out there. So yeah, I had all of Laura's paraphernalia on. However, we were told to shave our arms, shave our legs, and get in the most aero-tuck position we could be in.
Well, just the really lucky thing is that you were both super talented. I mean, that's so lucky.
It was a hell of a team, wasn't it? Jo Rousler herself in 2012, part of that phenomenal winning machine, I think you might have called it. I don't think Jo ever had any lucky charms. don't seem to remember anyway. But yeah, what amazes me, they go on about aero and what have you, particularly when it comes to time trialing and the like. The most aero, I think we mentioned it before, maybe long ago, the most aero, you talk about shaving, the most aero you can be is to have the front of your legs shaved and the back of your legs hairy, because of the dissipation of the wind that goes around the leg. I've never seen anyone do it, so it doesn't extend the desire for aero to that, Robbie.
Oh, you know what? I can give it a go and test it out. I'm running hairy legs at the moment. I might, for tomorrow, shave just the front part of my legs and leave the back hairy and turn up at the studio in shorts, just to horrify everybody.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah,
on that note, I've overstayed my welcome by 3 kilometres.
Oh.
Well, I don't really feel like that. Maybe you do, but I don't. But the other important thing is my lunch has arrived, so I'm off, and I'll see you with 55k to go.
I don't know how you manage it, to be honest, but anyway, good to see you, mate. And yeah, we will be joined a little bit later by Adam Blythe. In fact, he was due in 4 kilometres ago. I wonder if he's finished his burger. Actually, he's in good nick at the moment. I think he's knocked the burgers on the head. We're going to be hearing from Jasper Philipsen in a few moments' time. He of Alpecin de Koenig, and indeed a man who could be led out by the world champion today. Easy bands to follow. Somebody asking me at one of my evenings with that I had in Chiswick just before the tour, is it rainbow bands or is it rainbow stripes? It's rainbow bands. We'll explain why after we hear from Jasper Philipsen.
Jasper, the final's a bit technically today. What is the red spot where you need to be at the front here today?
The last 200 meters, probably. Yeah, it's actually a nice finish, I think. It's a big straight line, so I hope a nice fair sprint with a lot of strong competitors.
And Jasper, this is the first sprint of the year where you're going to have Mathieu as a lead-out man. Can you try to describe what that adds to your possibilities of winning today?
Yeah, of course, you know, we can put a pace really high. You know, there are not many lead-outs will be able to pass him if he can just produce all his powers he's capable of. But yeah, it's nice to have a train like that, and hopefully we can also just play our strengths.
Who do you see as your main opponents here?
I think it's difficult to say the first sprint stage. I think there are many sprinters on paper, but let's see who is a good final shot.
It looks like you passed the first 2 stages better than most sprinters. Does that give you confidence coming to this one?
Yeah, I think the first day I suffered a lot, but like many others. But I think it's all right, and of course everybody suffered already a little bit. So yeah, it won't be with completely fresh legs today.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Won't be with completely fresh legs today. It looked like Gregor Brown was asking the questions there. He has the extra large microphone and shoebox around it, and licorice voice of his. 146.1 kilometres to go before we get home today, and it can't come quickly enough. The last 200 metres, though, Adam, is what everyone's talking about. Once those corners are dealt with, you'd better be in a good spot. But of course, the highway approach to those 2 left-handers late on, that's going to cause problems of its own right. Doesn't matter how wide the road is, it can get very sketchy if there's space for riders to move into.
Space is always the worst thing in a sprint, because everybody, as you said, Carlton, has space to move up in. So yeah, it is going to be it's going to be a dangerous one. Just on a quick one, do you think Ran Breisel here have been paying the host broadcasters to advertise their new bikes? Because Bayek, I've not seen as many of these bikes in one showing. It is a new bike that they're on. It's their new Aero one. I'm not sure what it's called. Let's call it the Fasty. Fasty?
Yeah, doesn't eat on a Sunday. Yeah, go on.
I
Yeah.
mean, I like it. The paint
I
job's
like it
good,
as well.
isn't it?
A bit grey though. It'd be nicer in white, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, space is a nightmare, Carlton, in a sprint. It makes everything very, very dangerous. And with it being super straight, it's going to make it even more chaotic. The timing is going to be absolutely everything today.
We were talking about the rainbows, and indeed our world champion Mathieu van der Poel is here to lead out Jasper Philipsen, who's just been speaking to Jonas Rickert and Gianni Vermeersch. He's clearly somebody who has a great lead-out train around him. So much sprinting in this race. They've had to work very, very hard to get to the point where they can enjoy their fast legs and we can enjoy them, indeed displaying them. But let's see if Champions Band's a good watchword, a good point for him to follow. Talking about the rainbow bands versus the rainbow stripes, do you know why it's the rainbow bands correctly, Adam, and not the rainbow stripes?
No.
It's because they originally, because dye was quite expensive, it was not royalty, beyond that, sort of down a few levels off John Harris Bass. Back in the day, dye was extraordinarily expensive, which is why peasant folk used to sort of hang around in, I don't know, sackcloth and the like. It was undyed. So yeah, because it was so expensive, they used to actually sew ribbons on, which is why the British Champions jersey, of which you have one, is actually representative of just a blue ribbon and a red ribbon. So they are the bands, the rainbow bands. Let you never talk about them as stripes ever again, Danny.
I won't. I've been told now, haven't I?
Yeah, Danny.
Yeah, they've got me bands on. That's what it is. Yeah, 144.7 kilometres to go. Will those rainbow bands be part of the lead-out for Jasper Philipsen, or is he going to be doing his own thing? What do you think, Danny?
Oh, 100%. You know, it's a lot of pressure for Van der Poel, of course, but they're a force to be reckoned with. We've seen that earlier in the season. So, yeah, I mean, he has to be there. And like Jasper Philipsen said in that interview, if he gives it all he's got and he's got the power, then he's going to be hard to beat. And they just need to be patient in that final. Although it is a tailwind, so they can afford to go a little bit earlier than normal, generally with around 200 metres to go. But I think he's going to play an instrumental part in that final lead out for Jasper Philipsen, of course.
I know, Adam, that you, like us, will be, of course, just hoping that Mark Cavendish can make it 35. If it rains, will that help him?
It won't change a lot. I think, it'll change a lot for the whole peloton in terms of sketchiness for each and every sprinter. They just have to do the power, it's all about the lead up for each and every one of them sprinters. Cav especially, he's got a team all around him here. There's a couple of guys that can get staged and be up there on the harder days, but the rest of them, it is purely a team built around Mark for that magical number 35. But if it rained, no, not particularly. I think it'd almost make it a little bit easier in terms of positioning, because a lot of riders would get nervous. But Mark's been around for donkey's years now, hasn't he? He's used to riding in the rain and being from the Isle of Man as well.
That's my point, really. I think no rider actually welcomes the rain, but some cope better with it than others, and I think it might actually be to a little bit of advantage for Mark if it does just start to get a sketchy surface. He's, as you say, from the Isle of Man, he's kind of used to it. In fact, in the past, he's actually said that he finds sort of grey, overcast days kind of comforting. I guess that must be his heritage, Adam.
Yeah, probably just the cooler weather.
Yeah, probably.
Everybody, there's a lot of people that do like riding in the heat, and mostly everybody likes riding in the heat, but there's a difference between riding in 35 degrees or 30 degrees Celsius, sorry, not C. And there's a difference between that and racing in it. When you're racing in it, your heart rate's, up near the 170s. When they get to the sprint, as high as they can go, some of them 190s. You don't like being in that heat then. As soon as your body temperature warms up, it's very, very difficult to cool it down. So
yeah,
I'm sure that each and every single one
that's
of these
good.
guys will prefer it slightly cooler.
He did recover remarkably quickly when he was speaking. I think it might have been to Matt Stevens, or possibly Hannah, actually, I think, after the stage.
Still got an hour to go.
Did struggle the opening stage. And Danny had recovered extremely well. His core temperature had obviously been brought down. I don't know whether he had an ice bath or
I had 4 slices of pizza today for lunch.
But he seemed to have coped with it
Berkshire.
very well. If you are struggling with heat, and let's just hope that it was the heat and not
what up, Luch?
Because dehydration itself takes days to get over, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're two different things, really, and it did seem that he has, recovered really well from that. There was a huge alarm bells ringing, wasn't there, when we saw him initially? But I think even throughout the stage, he got better and better, and he had his team around him. They said that they'd made a plan obviously Morkov being the most calculated of the team.
Does he recognize me?
That they had to make, and then it was just a case of recovering as much as possible. I mean, he's still an
He ran up to me at the Christmas parade and gave me a hug.
So I think, honestly, there are still question marks as to how he's going to go in those brutal days that we've got coming, especially tomorrow with Sestier and the Galibier, and I think that will show a lot as to what his form's like. But yeah, he looks super relaxed, and I think he's going to be so up for this. And the earlier he can do it, because he is going to do it, I think it's more of a...
Oh, if Cab wins one, he's winning three.
Well, yeah, because exactly, then the pressure's off, and that is what it is all about, isn't it, for him?
He's a good kid.
A case of nothing to lose after that, and the pressure's off psychologically. So, yeah, I think I would love to see that happen today, because I think the further and further we get into this tour, okay, people are saying he's got more of a chance as we get into it, but psychologically, if he can tick it off today, then job done.
I hope he does. It would just be amazing. I think it's his best chance as well. Mind you, I thought that before.
What, she didn't go to the parade?
Looking at the technical finish today, I think it works for him. Before I saw him.
I mean, the rest walked. The rest of the parade walked by. It looked like it was not bad.
You know what, though,
unfounded. He looks good, and he looks right for it today, Adam.
He does, yeah. I think with that as well, definitely stage one he was struggling, definitely hard.
You have to go to Christmas Village.
He just went up to the limit with it. You know what? He made it easier for him than what we saw it as. I think the initial sort of 50, 60k of him being out there with just his teammates, it was kind of like, right, we need to hold this gap as long as we can. And then when he got closer to finish, he could almost work out what the time limit's going to be. And I think once he realised it was 40 minutes, it was like, right, as easy as we possibly can here towards the finish. Let's just try and recover as much as can. There's no point in finishing 10 minutes before we have to, just for the sake of pushing on for an extra 10 minutes. So
It started at 12:30.
You have to take into consideration as well that even though he looked bad, he'll have had a lot of an easier time.
Everybody was showing up around 12.
To the finish rather than just trying to hang on and get his engine right up to that red. So I think that's for everyone as well. Don't think that Mark's really been struggling that hard, because he knows what he's doing and he knows how to get the best out of himself. And if that's being on the bike for an extra half hour, he'll be on the bike for an extra half hour.
Oh.
Just saw the points tally here. I've got a feeling that it might well be the last few moments.
Poor timing then.
Our current points leader.
It's too bad.
That's Jersey, but all credit to him. He's done a fantastic job to be in that position at Bramson. But it is now getting serious. The battle for the points jersey. Danny, we all
I'm sure
know
Luciano
that,
would have enjoyed it.
Quite frankly, you'd rather have a stage win than a green jersey at the end, but it's got an enormous cachet, just as Robbie McEwen, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It holds so much prestige, doesn't it?
That's all right. You can always go to Christmas Village. It'll be just as cool.
Early on in the tour, these points, these intermediate.
Is it free? I haven't been in there in forever.
You know, that goes down 15 riders taking points at every intermediate sprint, so it will be hotly contested, and also it will be a really good indicator as to kind of what these sprinters have got that we're talking about being the riders to watch for the final today as well. So you can see now how the dynamic is starting to change in the peloton. The teams are coming together to form their lead outs for this intermediate sprint. So only around 4 kilometers to go now, 3 kilometers.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
36.5 kilometers.
Oh, just trying to.
Oh, where it'll be safe.
Trying to get our vision sorted out here.
I think my bald spot is better when I cut my hair.
He's taking his camera with him. Anyway, I've got him back now.
It feels better.
Coffee is my domestique, which is brilliant today.
Oh, free, that's good.
Good one there, Carl. Best in the game.
What a man to have.
We've got all of, she's useless. Not
She
brought
made you a coffee yesterday?
Shush, don't bring that up. We're talking about today. I mean, that day's forgotten.
I feel like with all the hair, it like pushes it away from the center. So when it's cut, it all kind of stays close to where it's sprouting out.
Olympics, apart from the medals, of course.
Yeah, I'm still going bald.
We're seeing the Spice Girls. There we are.
I count all my new hairs.
Great, actually. It's like a childhood dream coming true.
Go on then.
Even
Quick
more
song.
so than
At least the ones I can see.
right now.
Oh my God. Wish I hadn't said it.
Thank you very much.
We probably have more of that today. Here we go. Big
Is that like the N64
indeed,
controller look?
Intermediate sprint, but there are
It's
plenty of points up for grabs, and important they most certainly are. So dig yourselves.
So where you guys going? And we're good?
There's going to be no gifts at all, and Sam Bennett wants a piece of this, which is great. Decathlon AG2R, Le Mondial, up towards the 4. This is going to cheer Sean Kelly. He's just come in with the coffees. Don't spill them, Sean. This is a big moment. Sam's up for this. We might come to Sean for a flash quote at the end if he gets it. Let's have a look. Also digging in here, Intermarché Wanty, Gerben Tyson, Biniam Gourmet is at the back of that line of 3, just on the left-hand side of your screen. But monstering up through the center.
I thought you were working. What are you doing? Were you working tomorrow?
The rainbow bands.
Are you working late or early?
Will be there, and indeed leaning into the corner here. When
that's cool.
Is that line? Can't quite see from this angle, I'm afraid. There it is. Kilometre to go. Thank heaven. Thank heaven for that. Sorry for that. And here we are then. Dig yourselves back in, why don't you? Dig yourselves a hole potentially and jump in it like I just have done. But 137 kilometres.
Well, I might have to come see you.
Alexandri, and looking to see who
Hopefully you guys don't give me the flu.
Here. Surely not Damar, maybe Capio.
I'll come in the bubble.
For Arkea. And Sam's got a big lead out for this one. But
well, hey, if you got an opportunity.
Philipson's not there.
Absent. Well, I'm just actually. Are you sure? You're right. Goodness me. Well, who's coming up? Is it Mads Pedersen who's going to make it all on his own here? On the back of the Arkea boys. Gourmet just seeding position there. Is Sam Bennett picked out for you? Mads Pedersen is in a great spot.
I mean, USIC is
making his way up.
Good opportunity, you know.
Bramson wants to have a piece of it. Over to the other side of the road. Mads Pedersen looks like he's going to boss this one, and does so. Well, I have to say, he kept that really smooth. He didn't look overly challenged there either, Danny.
No, he didn't. I think Jesper Philipsen was just caught too far back there, but yeah, a great display from Mads Pedersen.
Well, I mean, it's like Ocean State, you know.
Well, I have to say, I was a bit surprised at the makeup.
You just rotating stock, checking stock, getting seasonal stuff in, putting it out, taking the seasonal stuff away.
He popped up, started going on the right-hand side of it. Look how far back he is down on Mads Pedersen. He does start making inroads up in. Brian Cockard coming in with what looks to be a 3rd place. Damar 4th.
Yeah, he was round about there, but I think
hey, you know,
just bad timing.
Somewhere better. Fuck it.
We'll see. Nice to see Gaviria getting up here as well. Now riding for Movistar. He might be a dark horse for today, actually, because Gaviria, on his day, he has a fantastic.
I mean, I don't blame you. I'd probably lose my mind if I was at Ollie's.
Approach, especially if it's quite technical. He never really got the backup that he was hoping.
At first, it would be kind of fun, but
enough, they had other fish to fry. But
being there all day, it's a long day.
The fortification Vauban. John. Oh, he's not here.
Long day.
Wish he was.
When you're working with food, you're dealing with the rush, and then you're cleaning after. So, I mean, it's keeping you kind of busy.
No, you need to have a bit more down there.
So, as much as food works, sucks.
Well,
it does make a decent shift.
We're missing John Harris-Bass.
Cool.
It looks, to be honest, like a monastery, if I had to say. This doesn't, obviously. This looks like a halo. It's the Pont Citadel de Richard Mayer. I'm presuming he was the architect, but probably not. I'd love to be able to help you out. I'll have a quick look.
Swordfish.
Thank you, Danny. What do you think it's like?
Danny's just actually left the commentary booth.
I'm not surprised. She's run out to do more singing with Orla.
Yes, definitely.
Let's dwell on that performance there by Gaviria, who reminds us that he's here. A great sprinter on his day, Adam, and sometimes poses surprises, doesn't he?
Gaviria is fantastic. You know, I like him as a sprinter. I like him as a bike rider. When you really watch someone in the intricacies of how they sprint, how they manoeuvre around the peloton, he's fantastic at it, one of the best at it, but he just goes under the radar because of he's not had those huge results. You know, the cameras don't follow him as much as others, but he is very tactically aware of most situations in a sprint. The problem with Gaviria is that he always goes too early. He always finds that gap with about 300 metres to go, and he always dies with around 30, 40 metres to go in a sprint. In the past, he was able to do it. He was one of the best at it. He was able to hang on easily and beat some of the best in the world consistently. But I think the older he's got, sadly, that he's just lost that last little bit of that edge towards the end. But sprinting's got faster, the lead-outs have got stronger. They're more emphasised now, the big lead-outs as well, what they have been in the past. So, yeah, he just has to get it right and get that timing right. And I think he's not quite found that balance just yet. It's either too early or he just doesn't quite have enough space. And there's obviously the power as well, which, yeah, that's just, if you've got it, you've got it. If you haven't, you haven't. But you don't always need the biggest amount of power to win a sprint.
I'm just wondering whether the late corners might actually help him then, because he's going to put the brakes on his ambition, if not on the bike, if you see what I mean, and sort of release him late to do his thing. I think he's in for a podium today. There you are. Cheeky little side tip. Alessandria is where we are. The Église Santa Maria di Castello is at the centre of things. And Francois Domazeau, who, of course, was one of the greats from these parts, as well as others, I'm sure. Well, I thought Alexandria was extraordinarily famous for something else. The Piazza Liberta is one of those, one of the fine old palaces on board. And the place we saw before was the Citadel de Vauban Fortifications. There we are. It was a fortress built in a hexagonal plane and has been used as a monastery. There we are. You could probably hear the monks snoring away, because telly's not exactly blaring today with the way that this has panned out. Had a good sprint though. 133.3 kilometres to go. Stage 3, 230 kilometres, of which we have just about completed 200. Or 100, I beg your pardon. Maths defeating me instantly. We're going to hear from Jens Vogt, who's much better at maths. He's also been around to ask about nose guards on Dylan Groenewegen. Jens, what did you find out about Dylan Groenewegen's nose piece?
So just a reminder, John...
I talked to the man. I talked to Matthew Heyman, the sport director, in the car, and he was just shrugging his shoulders and go, our official line is, let him keep guessing. I said, hey, is it protecting the nose? Is it for aerodynamics? Does he got a sunburn on his nose? They said, well, we won't tell, keep him guessing. That's what they said.
So are we allowed to call him Batman from now on?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I got some good news for Sean Kelly.
Oh, he's
I
here.
went to the
He's
car
listening.
of Decathlon Argue Désert, talked to the sport director. Yep. Yo, Sean, I talked to the sport director, Sebastian Joly, and you were delighted to talk to me about the chances of Sam. He said, Sam survived the last 2 hard days really, really well. He suffered less than a lot of other sprinters. He is ready, and they mentioned that with Oliver Naesen, they think they have one of the best lead-out men for today's stage. So they seem to be very, very optimistic and confident that Sam Bennett will be up there, fight for the win, with Oliver Naesen leading him out.
Jensi, what's been happening in that peloton that we've not seen, mate? What's the scandal? What's the directors saying? Is everyone quite relaxed? Has there been any fun being had that we've not seen yet? Have you had your lunch? Talk to us. Give us some gossip.
It's interesting to see that on a quiet or on a more tranquilo day like today, you see a lot of old teammates talking to each other. Like, you know, Roglic went past the car of Wismar Lisa bike to say hi. Then, you know, Roglic talking to Wout van Aert, and so all these teams talk to each other. Mikel Landa went to talk to some of his old teammates now that he is, you know, in the role of super domestique for Remco Evenepoel. So it's a lot of catching up going on. Hey, how was your last race? How are the kids at home? Everybody's enjoying the relaxed day, because you all know, maybe in another 20, 30 or 40 kilometers, it will be full gas again. So more or less, a big, relaxed day, and riders are so grateful to have a quiet moment.
Well, at least, Jensi, today we're not too worried about riders keeping cool. Temperature's a lot more comfortable. It must be the same for you with all that protective gear on. Have you heard anything, though, any more about the prospect of rain? We're worried for the finale.
It is, I'm afraid, still too long to go for the finale that we could have a certain opinion on that. I think it still goes about 50-50, so I just had a little fly in my ear because I keep the visor up so you folks can see my pretty face. And I got a little fly in my ear. But it's all good, I will survive. So yeah, it's a little 50-50. Weather in the moment, it's still absolutely superb. Just a little wind and just enough wind to cool you down. It feels perfect. But in the end, we don't hope for rain because, you know, this Italian...
He's fully had enough, Carl.
Past me while we were talking. He's looking good. Smooth pedal stroke. He looks absolutely fantastic.
Jensi, thank you so much. It's been a joy to have you on board, as we will enjoy you for the rest of this week. .4 kilometers. Jensi doing it all for us, including getting a fly in his ear. There you are. Looks like it's almost impregnable to find out what Dylan Groeneweghen's nose piece. If Jensi can't find out, nobody can, Adam.
I mean, Jensi's the man to find out all our information, isn't he? He's brilliant on that motorbike. I love listening to him. Main thing out of everything with Jensi is just his enthusiasm. He is absolutely wicked. We love you, Jens. Very good, Carlton. Very good.
I remember when we had it was a security practice, and when we were on site, and the commissaire said, everyone get your head down. In English they said, get your head down. And Jensi, still standing, says, in English this can mean have a sleep.
I mean, when you think about Jensi, the things that he's seen in cycling, he started off with shorts and jersey. The short sleeves were like properly short, and then the shorts were properly short. The further he got into career, the shorts went down to his knees, the jerseys went down to their elbows, and then aero suits came into it, which all the old guys refused to wear for ages. And now you've got Dylan Groenewegen looking like Batman with a nose piece on. I mean, he must be thinking, what on earth has gone on in this world of cycling where we've got to this point?
Well, they're trying to make us talk about it, and they've succeeded. And I guess the mystery rolls on. Even more of a mystery if it suddenly disappears. Or indeed grows. Do you think he's going to have a chin guard tomorrow?
Well, did they come in different sizes, Carl?
Yeah,
that's the thing, you know. The size of your snout, it depends on, you know, you might have a big snout and then you might need a bigger nose piece.
Well, let's wait and see. The Inglese de Santa Maria Castello, just coming by Alessandria, and Alessandria Cathedral, which we passed by. And I've got, basically, you can tell, I've got John Harris Bass's notes. They're copious, and unfortunately slightly impregnable as well, so you'll have to forgive us. Tim Wellens, always love an interview with Tim whenever that comes. Today he's, of course, part of the duty that will just be looking after Tadej Pogačar. No real room for them to think of anything else on a day like today. It would take, I think, a big incident if they were to find themselves at the fore. There has been occasions, though, in the past, where we have had some of the GC men have actually managed to get themselves up towards the fore on some of the quick days. I don't think that's going to happen today, although they have extended the safety distance, Adam, from 3 kilometres out to 4 today, I understand.
5, I think it is, Carl.
Is it 5? I beg your pardon.
Don't be silly. I saw a tweet from Adam Hansen, the president of the CPA, and he said it's the 5-kilometre rule, which, look, it's for safety. It's to keep all the riders safe and in check. But it's going to make it interesting, especially with Tadej Pogačar, the Richard Carapaz and Remco situation going on right now for that yellow jersey. Where they place themselves in the peloton today. It's only 2 places, I believe, between Remco and Tadej. So that 5-kilometre rule, if the time is taken there, or placing's taken there, I'm not sure, actually. I'm sure Rob Atch could answer that question for me. It'll be interesting.
Here's Ben Healy. Starting his first Tour de France, Ben Healy already showed himself on stage 1. We sat down with him just before the start in
You're
Florence.
No stranger to a Grand Tour. You had success already in your first Grand Tour in the Giro d'Italia. But how different has the approach been to the Tour in comparison to more than a year ago with the Giro?
Yeah, I mean, for me it's been pretty different because I've had a smoother run in it, I guess. And like, yeah, the Giro, I broke my hand and then had just like a crazy race in block and was still in good shape for the Giro. Whereas here, it's like it's all been focused around the Tour and everything's been with the Tour in mind. So yeah, it's been a more conventional build-up, I'd say, and yeah, just happy to be here and hopefully I've got my best legs as well.
And for you personally, how do you see your role within the team? Because, you know, when we watch you race, you're so exciting, entertaining. You're a real fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I think I figured out a way I can win, and I just stick to that method, and yeah, I do it when I can, and I still got to have pretty good legs to do it, but yeah, I mean, that's obviously how I'll probably try and win at the stage here as well. It's just there's going to be a few more stronger riders trying to stop me, and yeah, like you say, I've just got to stay persistent, pick the days that suit me the most, and yeah, go for those.
Where does that style of racing come from? Have you always been like that, even when you were a youth rider, a junior rider?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was probably even more extreme and less thought out as a youth and junior, and for sure it's made me lose more races than I won, I reckon. But yeah, it's still stuck with me, and it's yeah, it's a way that I can win, and yeah, I guess I just keep repeating that.
But how important is that for you to have that experience from other riders who've been at this race on many occasions?
Yeah, I think it's important. You know, yeah. I'm someone that can overthink things, I guess, sometimes, and yeah, to have like a level head like Alberto, you know, he's the most relaxed character I've ever met in the bike race, and just someone to guide you, and yeah, I think that's really important, and for sure a big asset.
I guess it's a versatile roster. You can do a lot with the team across the Tour.
Yeah, I think that's the plan, you know, we don't want to just be passengers in this race, we really want to try and make the race and do what we can to suit the riders that we have here, and yeah, everyone here can do something for themselves, and I think that's going to be a balance of like us all, yeah, pulling turns for each other and being honest, and yeah, I think if we can work well together, we can really do some special things here.
What would young Ben Healy think of yourself right now, knowing that you're at the Tour de France? What would he say to you?
Yeah, just wouldn't believe it probably.
I do love the way Ben Healy indeed attacks a day. Puts me in mind of Matt Stevens, actually, if Matt's tuned in. Just all in, and sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes it can turn you into a British champion, as Matt has told you. Yes, Ben Healy, the Dudley Dynamo from the Irish enclave of Kings Winford. Hoping he indeed produces something on one of our days. He's certainly been busy, hasn't he, Adam?
He has been busy, yeah. I mean, on that first day he was busy, chased after Roman Bardet, didn't he? And then yesterday, you know, hanging on up there, I think he knew yesterday what was coming. Today he'll have a relatively easy day, as everyone will, apart from the sprint and lead-out man in this peloton. And then tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow could suit him well. There could be a bit of a standoff with the GC teams tomorrow. A huge day tomorrow. So tomorrow could be a very, very good day for him, but I'm sure Ben has been through each stage and picked the ones that he really does want to go for, and we won't know that until we see him on the attack.
Well, that is true. I'm actually wondering if we might get some left field today. We're starting to talk about Jasper Philipsen, of course. What about Pascal Ackermann for a possibility today? He's been off the boil for possibly far too long. What do you think?
He's in the race to do something, that's for sure, and he's a sprinter, so yes, he will have a go today, but it's going to be so difficult for him, you know, and it's the lead-out that he's got here. He's got a strong team here, of course, but everything and the stars align, I think will have to go his way today for that to happen. But look, I'd love to see, you know, I think when you get more competition in these sprints, it's better for us, it's better for the race, it's better for everyone, and obviously if Pascal's up there, it's great for him as well and his team. But it's going to be a hard ask. I think it's going to be hard for everyone today with the lead-outs and the run into the finish. such a messy one.
Certainly is. Yeah, I kind of I love Pascal Ackermann actually because he's like this ultimate optimist. He's terrible at positioning, and the last couple of corners I think will do for him. That's his main problem, I think, apart from anything else. And when he does get dropped off in the right place, he just seems to be able to lose a back wheel, whereas others just find it far easier to actually find them. It's not a fault to have, especially on the sort of finish we've got today, Adam.
It's not, no. Sprinting is so difficult, and when you're at the top of the game, and especially when you're in the Tour de France, it is the biggest bike race in the world. You know, it's at this time. I think there was something going around that it's the most watched sport in the world as well during July. So the amount of people watching, the amount of pressure from behind the scenes within teams, the fight that you have to do just to get selected for this race, it's huge. And then you get into the race and you've got everybody on their best of best forms. That's sprinters, that's lead-out man, that's everyone. So for Pascal to, you know, in a sprint when such fine margins make a difference, you can't make them because they do make that huge difference. And for Pascal, if he, you know, anyone, not just Pascal, if they don't follow that wheel or they lose a gap here, they lose a gap there, it's very difficult to rectify it. So not just for Pascal, everything has to go right. That's for each and every single sprinter in the race today. But it can only go so right for one person, sadly.
I'm hoping, and I think many of us are, and you know, you'll forgive us this if your favours lay elsewhere, but we'd love to see Mark Cavendish deliver today. It would be historic, and his best chance, I think, of actually getting off the mark are in the early days, notwithstanding the troubles that he's had in the opening couple of stages. So let's see, shall we? He's no spring chicken, but he's in exactly the right place at the moment. He's in the right team. Loves the fact that there's no airs and graces within the team. He's just treated like a regular guy within that group. Well, it'd be a very special one today if he does it. Sooner rather than later, Adam, would be good for Mark. He's already pre-described this Tour de France as the toughest he'd ever seen. And the opening couple of days can't have been easy, but the longer it goes on, the longer we wait, the more annoying our questions are going to get to him, aren't they?
They are, but that's part of it. You know, there's two sides to this. When we look at it from our point of view, we all want to see it. But if you cast your eyes back to last year and your memories that he was up there, he wasn't there, when we had the Bordeaux stage and he was like, oh, it was so close. For us watching at home, it's awful because we're willing him, we're wanting him to do it. And when he doesn't quite get it, we're like, he's going to get it, he's going to get it. But like I said earlier very briefly, if Mark Cavendish gets that magical number 35 win, it wouldn't surprise me if he got another two after that. You know, you have to be on, like he was a few years ago when he got all those wins, you have to be on the best form, you have to be in the best condition. And if you can get one, that shows he is. And that will carry on from it. That will then roll over probably into another and another and another. Similar to Philipsen last year, you know, you get the one, then you get the riders chasing your wheels. So, yeah, if he gets one early on, I wouldn't be surprised if he got more after that. But I don't think if he gets one this early on, it will be like last year. You know, things have to go perfectly for him as they have to do today.
It's strange, isn't it? I mean, we say crashes breed crashes as well, because you generally tend to just tense up a little bit, and it can compromise the flow of what you have to do. In that intense heat of a sprint finale. And so you get it wrong, that tends to magnify. And it's the same as you say, Adam, quite rightly, that if you get it right, then suddenly you find yourself on rails, and he's got so many opportunities to go for it. Stage 5 to Saint-Vulbas, we have Dijon as well immediately after that, that's stage 6. Some lumpy days that he's just basically got to cope with. Nothing really high ground apart from tomorrow's all category, of course, but at least he's got recovery once he comes over the top of that. The Galibier we go over, we remind you, before he gets the chance to go to Saint-Vulbas and Dijon. Then it's an easy approach to Saint-Amand, which is a sprinting day. The first day back after the nightmare that is the gravel day, potentially for some. Let's hope everyone stays safe. And it's still not over, because we will get to Nîmes. No grand finale this year because of the time trial in Nice, because Paris is busy. It's got something called the Olympic Games, which, of course, if you're finding us here, then you know you're in the right place, and indeed for the Olympic Games. Discovery Plus will be your home. Well, they come through the feed zone, the litter zone, and everything else. Quite frankly, this is where the fans generally tend to gather to pick up the bidons, and by the look of the size of some of the crowd on the left-hand side of the road, hoping for some discarded sandwiches as well, by the look of them. But yeah, 121.5 kilometres of the day remaining. Well, welcome back, our wider cycling fraternity. If you'd prefer not to suffer, some would say, the ad breaks, then don't forget, if you subscribe to Discovery Plus, then you can enjoy uninterrupted coverage. And you can also, if you're busy during the day, enjoy the timeline marker service, just to dip in and out. And of course, you just need to go and look for @Eurosport Cycling, Instagram, and on YouTube. You'll find indeed a smorgasbord of entertainment, a wrap really, if you will, plenty of them as well, a lot of background stuff around the Tour de France, and indeed all other sports that we cover, including of course the Olympic Games. So make sure you check it out. 121, just shy of kilometres from home, and the end of the feed and litter zone. Looks like some of them are going to be casting their musettes beyond it, in which case they may get a little fine, but I think it'd be cruel. Well, I think it's time, just as we're watering the roses, to speak to Jens.
Now we just had a chance to talk to Michael Murkoff, just passing me. And if you have a chance to see a close-up of their shoes, they all put some tape around the closing systems of their shoes for better aerodynamics, because the little Bora wheels you turn, you tighten the shoes with, they stick out a little bit, so they put tape on top to make it more aerodynamic. He was just kind of laughing at me, going, hey man, it's marginal gains, everything counts. So if we have a close-up look at the Astana shoes, they covered the Bora closing system for better aerodynamics.
Yes. Nose pieces, tape over shoes now, holes still in helmets, beards on faces, hair still on arms. Crikey.
I know, it's all there, Adam. What's going on? They'll be blocking up nostrils next.
Oh dear. I mean, you've got to look at these things, haven't you? If you can see something that you think is going to help, just do it. Just for your peace of mind. It doesn't really matter if it works or not. If you believe it's going to work and that placebo works for you, crack on. Do it. Go for it. What was interesting, Carlton, sorry, I was just casting my mind back to that sprint we had that Mads Pedersen took. And with Philipsen, Van der Poel wasn't involved in that. His lead-out man, you know, they've not really done a sprint together since, well, for a long, long time. I don't even know when that is, probably the Tour de France last year. But choosing to sit out by the looks of things, you'd think, I know they're both very experienced, they know that each other very well, they've got that trust within each other, but at the same time, just opting not to get stuck in the lead-out and just wait for the final today, which I find very interesting.
Well, I don't know if it's powder dry or whether there's some kind of relationship malfunction.
It's definitely not that. Them two will get on like a house on fire.
There you go. All right, well, that's one train of thought in the bin. You do get, though, arguments within teams, and but they all seem extremely settled at the moment. I guess those arguments start to come where the main favoured sprinter is not performing, and then you start to wonder who might indeed be given a chance. And then there's a conversation to be had over breakfast as to who it might be. And I suspect that there will have been some teams today where they've asked for honesty from their main chosen sprinter, because they've got a very, very good last man in the lead out who could take a step forward.
He could, but devil's advocate here, you've got to back your sprinter. They've not, this is the first chance they've got. I think, you know, you get 2, 3, 4 sprints in and they're really off the boil, then yeah, you need to start, you know, to be honest with yourselves, the riders do as well. But the first sprint of this, even with a couple of hard days in their legs, really hard days in their legs, you need to back your horse. You need to get on board with them. You need to give them everything you've got, because on this first day, if you don't do that, it's going to be very, very difficult for them. So I think today is the day where each and every sprinter that they've named as their leader sprinter in each and every single team, they will back them 100% and they will give them 100%, because they know this is the first chance that they get to win a stage properly.
You're absolutely right, Adam. I mean, just asking the question can pose a seed of doubt in a sprinter, and you know, it's a thankless task, isn't it? It's a game that basically only has one result. You either win or you lose.
If you're not first, you're last.
Exactly that. I mean, I kind of feel sorry for them because, you know, you look at general results when you come to some of the great races and you think, oh, well, you know, got himself a podium, that's a fabulous result. For a sprinter, that's just not good enough, is it?
It depends where you are, you know. I think if you're...
I mean for the sprinter themselves, not for us. We ponder, of course, the whole gamut of it.
I think so, but a lot of them can be quite happy with it in a way, you know. If you're coming into this Tour de France and say it's your first Tour de France and if you're a sprinter and you're looking to try and win a stage, if you get up there and get a second or a third or a fourth and it's your first tour, first big real go with the big boys, you could be quite happy with that and take a lot of confidence from it. But for the likes of Philipsen, the likes of Pedersen, the likes of Cavendish, Groenewegen, you could take confidence from it, but ultimately they're not going to be that happy with it. They want that win, that's what they're there for. So it just depends where you're at in your career, what you're expecting in terms of results already and what's expected from you in the team. They can differ very, very much, but each and every single one of them, if they're up there and close, doesn't matter if you're first time there, if you're second time there, 10th, 15th time there in the Tour de France, if you're second, third, fourth and you're close, you will still, no matter what position you're in, as I said, take a lot of confidence from it.
Good to see Checo Alula, Roy McEwen's new favourite kid. Not sure. I'm not sure about the brown shoulders.
Well, you know what they say, orange and green should never be seen. But
yes, I heard that.
This is an exception. I don't mind it. I think it looks quite cool.
Burnt umber, apparently, I'm being told, is the colour. There you go for artists out there.
Burnt umber.
Yeah, go look it up. Dylan Groenewegen. I mean, there was a time when he looked absolutely imperious, and for a while he's been, of course, amongst, if not the fastest on the planet. But his positioning is something that really does upset him occasionally, and possibly meant that seat on the throne has actually been passed over. Jasper Philipsen looks the quickest. I don't think I don't know whether he was out of position or just it was out of his mind that he really wanted to contest that intermediate sprint. It was something that Mads Pedersen got up and delivered. Pedersen himself got through the mountains very, very well, but you don't know who was resting up and whether he's actually done too much. Didn't look like that on the intermediate sprint. He was happy to get up there, almost really underscoring his credentials for today. But yeah, there's some great sprinters here, Adam. There's no doubt about it. And I think they will all fear each other.
They will do, yeah, of course they will. I think, you know, there's sprinters come and go. You mentioned Groenewegen. There was that period where he was just unstoppable, almost won everything that he went to. Last year, you know, we had Philipsen the year before that. Even in the Giro d'Italia, Jonathan Milan and Tim Millier. There's always that one sprinter each year who is the dominant sprinter. We've had the Vivianis, we've had the Cavendishes, everyone, the Kittles. There's always one dominant sprinter, and year by year it does seem to change a little bit. They get more challenged, and this year we don't know. It doesn't look like Philipsen might be on the same numbers and same condition that he was last year, but everyone might have caught up with him a little bit. So it doesn't look, through his performance that he's had earlier in the year, if we take those as an example, that he's not on that form. You know, we've got Arnaud Delis here who beat him in the Belgium National Championships. He's another one. So we just don't know until this first sprint is over. Maybe the second sprint, when you get a little bit more consistency, who is going to be that real dominant sprinter. And today's a very difficult day for it because so much can go wrong during that big straight run into the finish, and so much can go right as well if you get it down to perfection.
There are some teams who kind of shuffled the deck just a little bit. Apparently Mike Turnison has declared that Gerben Tyson is going to be the man today, not Biniam Girmay. I don't really know why that would be the case, unless it's just generally accepted within. They kind of mixed and matched, haven't they, over the season? Yeah. But Tyson apparently is the choice today.
Gerben is definitely more of a pure sprinter, little pocket rocket almost, like a ball of muscle. So for him, this is a pure sprint, you know, no climbing really involved today, a couple of little categorised ones, but nothing to stress about. So I think for Gerben, it is very much, this is your first opportunity, and then you get later on in the race where legs get more tired. We don't know how Tyrrell's going to perform later on in this race, so there'll be plenty of opportunities for Girmay, where a little bit of a harder stage, harder climbs early on, where traditionally through what we've seen of Girmay before, that he'll probably still be there at the end. So I don't think it's a bad thing, and if listen, if Gamay gets stuck into the lead out, that is one heck of a
Amazing,
hand to
isn't
be
it?
played into that.
Just about to say that. If Gamay is there, I imagine he will be helping out. Hugo Page, we've got Mike Turnison himself, and Lawrence Rex. I mean, that's a golden carpet for Gerben Tyson. He could be a feature.
He could be, yeah. And I think we have to remember Turnison as well. He took that yellow jersey back in Brussels. He was the lead-out man for Wout van Aert. That man knows how to do a lead-out, and that man knows how to sprint and position himself as well. So if he gets that right, it's brilliant as well. And as with the sprinters, as we mentioned, Colin, they sort of change year on year. They're always consistent, as do the lead-out riders. You know, we had Van der Poel last year, then we had Danny Van Poppel as well, then we have Mikhail Morkov as well, who's still in this race. So there's so many lead-out people that we know are going to be good, but who's going to be that dominant one? Who's going to be that really reliable one? Who's going to be that consistent one that delivers time upon time and time again?
It's strange, isn't it? And indeed, teams that remain malleable and have alternatives. If it's an uphill ramp, then Biniam Gamay is going to be racing for Intermarché Wanty. You can be certain about that. As far as UNO-X are concerned, last year they kind of exchanged between Alexander Kristoff and Soren Warenschold, and I think that'll possibly go on. Kristoff seemed to be struggling in the mountains, but then again, you don't know how much energy preservation has gone on there, Adam, and it could well be that he's actually come through very well, despite the fact that he dropped out of the pack very early. That could have been about preservation for today, couldn't it?
It could have been, yeah. I think a lot of them will have tried to get through the previous days, the sprinters, with, you know, as safely as possible, so hanging on for as long as they can until the gruppetto is formed, but just trying to minimise their efforts as well, as much as possible. So they'll have all tried to get through in the best way possible and easy as they deemed possible. Just to notice there, Geraint Thomas got his earpiece in. It looks like, I don't want to mention names, but Pair, let's call it Pair headphones instead of the obvious. Probably knowing Geraint, he might have a bit of music in there, you know, a bit of G-Unit playing 50 Cent, Eminem, he likes that kind of stuff, a bit of hardcore rap. Loves a bit of G-Unit. G-Unit.
Do you think he actually went for it just because of the name?
That's where he got his nickname from, apparently. He was the 5th member.
I think we'll leave it hanging there, to be honest. Enough techno in the car over the years. But anyway, Ryan Smithy is burning right now. 113.2 kilometres from home. Let's have a look as we just dwell on Paul Laperre. It's a great-looking kit, isn't it? I don't know why, but the tricolor kind of beats the tricolore as we dip on national jerseys right now. And why not? Rui Costa, of course, our Portuguese champion, and Bettiol, of course, for Italy. Jaco Alula, check this out. Well, we talked about Dylan Groenewegen, but what a train. Oh, my goodness. Let's see how they go. They will, of course, be looking after Simon Yates up until about 5 kilometres to go marker. Turbo Durbo will take over and drive them in. Jürg Jensen, Luca Mezgets and Michael Matthews exchanging, depending on who wants the last go, before they release Dylan Groenewegen. And let's see how he rolls, shall we? It'll be magnificent. You just know it, don't you? And, of course, he's national champion as well. So is Sean Quinn. We've been dipping around the national jerseys here, and indeed we had a chat with Dylan Groenewegen at the beginning of the day. He always speaks extremely well and remains humble, doesn't ride like that, I've got to tell you. Let's hear from him, shall we? Dylan Groenewegen, one of the favourite picks for today. Although our predictors really did lump in on Jasper Philipsen. Here he is.
Dylan, first big rendezvous for the sprints today. Looks like 99.9% sure that's going to happen. What do you know about the finale today, and especially the last few corners?
Actually, it's really, really straight, not too small. Yeah, some roundabouts, but big roundabouts. And then you have the U-turn. It's not a real U-turn, but you go left, and then a few meters later you go again left. So yeah, it will be a sprint to the looking like a U-turn.
And what about the wind? It's relatively sheltered in Torino. Do you know how, well, from what we know about the weather, when riders may be launching their sprint?
Yeah, I I don't know. We need to look to ourselves, and I know we have a really strong team. We make a really good plan. First sprint is always a bit stressful and hectic. So yeah, the most important thing is that I'm in position to sprint.
And that's 4K is dead straight, so positioning and getting your troops at the front just at the right time, more crucial than ever.
Yeah, it will be a wash machine, I think, and yeah, there's also maybe some GC guys for the yellow jersey. It will be it will be a fight maybe, but yeah, we will do what we can.
Final question: can I ask you what gears you're running today?
5411, not official.
Nice one. Good luck today.
Thank you.
It's a shame that Matt Stevens not wearing the prairie bonnet that we've been used to, or indeed that he didn't ask him about his nose guard there, Adam. That was an opportunity missed.
Carlton, Dylan Groenewegen is a lovely, lovely man, but what is that on his glasses? I just can't deal with it. What has cycling got to where we're wearing little nose pecker things on the end of our glasses now? If it's aero, it's aero. It is what it is, but come on, cycling world, don't do this. Don't put flipping nose guards on to make you go faster.
Adam's used the word flipping, he's not happy.
Oh, come on, though. I mean, I like Dylan. I think he's a great bloke. I've got ultimate respect for him, but that thing is just dreadful.
Oh, well, do you know what? We have spoken about not much else in the last half an hour. So
I just don't understand it,
worked.
Carlton. What is it? What is it? Does it bend? I don't know.
You'd have to give it a poke to find out.
I am
the best
not
way.
poking his nose.
This scientific method. Well, legs 11 plus 1. Well, three-legged sign is, of course, the Isle of Man. Maybe it's auspicious. Let's wait and see. Sitting by the fruit groves here, they look like plums rather than vines. And if John Harris Bass was here, he'd be saying something along the lines of, well, we've had plenty of these so far today, and quite frankly, I think the standard has not been at its highest. And indeed, those spokes look out of position. I'm going to give that a relative 6, and apologies to the children who are dragging flags around.
Not bad. As with this, I'd give that, I hope Jono agrees with this. Jono, if you watch it back, or you are watching, you shouldn't be, because you're supposed to be teaching children. I'd give that a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, well, I think we're more or less in agreement there. And we can just imagine John nodding as violently, perhaps, as he was shaking his head yesterday with talk of Lambrusco. I actually did have somebody get in touch with me and say, can you stop having a go at Lambrusco, please? It's got a bad press in the United Kingdom, but actually there are some very, very, very good ones.
I don't mind a Lambrusco, you know. I think it's quite nice.
Yeah, exactly.
A lovely little man down on the ground, producer Pete Burton, he had a bottle of Lambrusco last night as well, in honour of us.
Just got a note from Matt saying, we did ask Dylan before we started rolling, and he didn't want to talk about them. Yeah, Matt, we've, I don't know if you heard, but Jens went back to the car, and apparently they just decided that they're going to make us talk about it by refusing to talk about it. So there we are. And whatever the plan, it has worked, because Alan Blythe in particular get very animated about the whole thing, which is good. Here's your burnt umber. Looks like burnt orange to me as shoulders. Michael Matthews has looked a bit sprightly, missed it the other day, and looked rather upset, was caught in no man's land for quite some time.
He was, yeah. It's one of those ones where he wanted to get in the break, just missed it, and that time gap went out just a bit too much. So he kept trying, but ultimately just, went back into the bunch, which was a wise move to do.
Certainly was. Knapsack time. Just get your last little bit of snap on board. Ben Healy. I don't know what's in there. It's probably a black pudding in a bat, I would say. Meanwhile, cruising through a few others as well. Just thinking about Israel Premier Tech. Stevie Williams, not a beacon of hope at the beginning of this race. I was expecting a little bit more. He's been on great form. Was in the Tour of Swiss. Coming into town here. 109 k's to go, and there's calls everywhere for a bit more sustenance, and I think the knapsacks and the rest of it are going to get handed out, and there we are. And maybe just getting rid of a little bit of ballast before we actually start our finale today. Not the hottest of days, Adam, and therein lies a danger sometimes because it kind of tumbles down the important lists, doesn't it, to stay hydrated on a day like today. And as a result, you can actually strangely get more chance of getting dehydrated on a day like this. Is this a demonstration we're coming through? I'm just wondering what all the security was for.
I'm not too sure, but it's definitely a headwind, judging by that flag.
Well, it was on board a motorcycle.
I love how you agreed with that, Colton. Go on, Fred Wright.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? There'll be a day when he has his fun, actually, won't there?
There will be, yeah. He's been very consistent in his form the last couple of years. Just waiting for that
good ride.
A couple of years ago, we got so close in the Vuelta a España a couple of times. The Tour de France as well last year was just phenomenal. So I think Fred, it's there. It's just things going right for him and picking that day where things do go right for him. And I hope they do, because he's a fantastic bloke. Just brilliant.
He is. Lovely guy. I remember it was almost going back to what you were saying, Adam, that you kind of felt like had he actually won that day, there would have been some more.
Yeah, it's very difficult in Fred's situation. The rider that, excuse me, the rider that he is, he's a domestique, he's a workhorse, he's a lead-out man. He's just one of these guys that can do everything, you know, go into those mountain stages, last over the first mountain, halfway up the next one, and just be in a support role for...
42.2, so you're looking at...
And that role that Fred's got, it's one of the most important roles.
26, 27?
To have someone like Fred that is reliable as that, it's remarkable within a team, and everybody needs that rider that can go halfway into the mountains, over halfway into the mountains, can do a lead out. You know, if you need anything and a leader needs anything, Fred will give 100% to doing that. And as I said,
so this ride, 5 seconds for 4, so 400,
so when they are
344 for 1 minute.
On the top step of the podium, or the podium, everyone just celebrates that joy for them because they thoroughly
Pretty good.
deserve it. And that is not just Fred. It's so many riders within that peloton. Chris Juhl Jensen, the man on the front right now, he's one of those riders as well.
It's true.
Hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow. It looks like we have an hour and 6 minute ride tomorrow. We should be on sometime during the early afternoon.
Churches. As simple as that. So if it's not your thing, you've come to the wrong place.